G'day ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben and welcome to Top 5 Fridays. This week in Australia, a limited release of the sing-along version of The Greatest Showman is coming to theatres. And because there's nothing else that interesting that's coming out this week, I figured I would cover my top 5 favourite original movie musicals. Now, when I say original movie musicals, I mean that anything that was adapted from the stage isn't eligible to be in this list. So for example, even though I adore 2007's Hairspray, it can't make the list, unfortunately. Without further ado, let's get to the countdown. Before people who know their Broadway history get all up in arms, this is an original movie musical. While yes, there was a Broadway version of The Wizard of Oz being performed between 1903 and 1909 on the Broadway circuit, this film is a completely separate entity and is in no way an adaptation of that show. Rather, this film is a musical adaptation of the original children's novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, written by Frank L. Baum. I would go on and on about the film here, but you've all seen it. Everyone has seen it. It's considered one of the best films of all time, for crying out loud. This film is filled with fantastic music, charming characters, and surprisingly good visual effects for a film that's almost 80 years old.
Really? Blow dart in my butt cheek.
One of the newer films on this list, Moana is one of the most beautifully animated films of all time, with a gorgeous story and downright lovable characters. Disney have been the king of animated movie musicals for God knows how long now, and out of the decades and decades of films they've released, I think Moana might be my favourite of all of them. Some may argue that this doesn't count as an original movie musical because the music isn't the main focus, but I would argue that it does, because the music does drive the story forward and it's incredible to boot. Every time I hear How Far I'll Go, I legitimately begin to tear up. If you've never seen Moana, go and check it out for yourself. No, I am not joking. I would put the whole trilogy on this list as one entry, but the first two are TV movies, so they're not made for the silver screen per se. Regardless, I do legitimately love High School Musical 3 senior year. Has it got more cheese than Homer Simpson in the middle of the night? Absolutely it does.
64 slices of American cheese.
Characters, the music, the story, the themes, it's all smothered in cheese. But that doesn't make it bad. The characters are all likeable, the story and the themes are exactly what they need to be, and here's a controversial opinion for you, the music in this film is the best in the series. It's the only film in the series that turns it up to 11 and feels like a real musical. I Want It All, Scream, Now or Never, Can I Have This Dance? Every track sounds great and feels like it belongs in film. The final outing for the East High Wildcats is the strongest of the trilogy and one of my personal favourites. While it has its fair share of haters nowadays calling it overrated, I absolutely adore La La Land with all my heart. I was excited for this film when I first walked into the cinema, since I'd also loved Damien Chazelle's previous film, Whiplash. I ended up seeing this film 3 times in the cinemas. No joke, I loved it that much. Every second of this film is just fantastic. It looks, sounds, and feels beautiful. The characters are real and lovable, the music is outstanding, the story is the classic Hollywood romance tale modernised for today's audiences. It's a love letter to the musicals of old, and Chazelle's passion is painted over every frame. By far the largest criticism the film receives is that Gosling and Stone's singing is below average, but that's the point, I think. These aren't caricatures, these aren't perfect triple threat knockout performers, they're real people who happen to be living in Hollywood. The average person isn't a great singer, so I think that the choice to make the main characters not great singers also is brilliant. And it helps to make every number feel so much more authentic. Before I continue raving on about the film too much, I'll just say that La La Land has been one of my favourites since the day I first saw it.
There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be.
I've obviously shared my passion for this film at length on the channel before, so I'll try not to get too in-depth with my thoughts here. But this film still blows my mind to this day. I legitimately don't think there is a single thing wrong with it. Gene Wilder is absolutely perfect as Wonka, the child actors all do a pretty good job, the sets still look amazing, and the music, my goodness the music. All the original songs are just so filled with whimsy and magic and wonder. The day that Gene Wilder died, I literally sat at a bus stop alone on my way to school, quietly singing Pure Imagination to myself while weeping openly. I'm not joking, that actually happened. I will never fall out of love with this film, and it is easily my favorite original movie musical of all time. That's going to do it for Top 5 Fridays this week. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap, people.